This podcast is brought to you by Contessa Digital.
Have you ever heard the phrase, never let a man tell you more than once that he doesn't want you? You know, my grandmother told me this phrase when I was younger, and, I used to always roll my eyes and be like, yeah, okay, whatever, not really understanding what she meant by that. And of course, now, lately, I've seen multiple videos on TikTok discussing this concept, this idea of how sometimes women break their own hearts by chasing after someone who clearly doesn't put them as a priority. So I wanted to do a story time today and tell you about my experience with letting someone tell me more than once that he didn't want me, because I hope it will help you both learn, realize that you're not alone if you've been in this situation, and also rethink some of the ways that you may be thinking about dating. So, welcome to Confidently Cherished. My name is Keisha Rice, and I'm a dating coach for ambitious women of faith. So, back to the story. When I was younger, I used to really pride myself in the fact that I never had to chase after a man, right? I always had boyfriends, and whenever one relationship ended, I wasn't single for very long. Now, this was high school and early college, so dating is, of course, a little bit different during those times than when you get a little bit older. But from that early experience, I thought that dating would be so incredibly easy. I'd always have a whole bunch of choices and that I was always in control. And then karma hit, and it hit in the form of a guy that we are going to call Derek. So Derek and I met while I was in college, and we met through a friend, which I thought was an added bonus because in that way he was kind of already vetted for me, since my friend thought that he was great. Obviously I thought she had a good judgment, so I thought that he would be great. But not only that, he was good looking, he was very charming, very smart. He majored in a field where he'd always have a job, and something that was a high paying job at that. So when I met him, I was blown away and I was determined to go out with him. So, being that strong, independent woman that I was, I started striking up conversations with him. I realized that, like me, he liked to get up early before classes and work on assignments. Like me, we had a class that turned out in the same building in the mornings. So not the same class, but again, we were going to the same place. And I just started convincing him to have breakfast with me in the morning before class. And we would walk to that same building together. And after a couple of weeks of doing this, he finally asked me out on a real date. And I should have seen that as a red flag, that I had to go through so much effort to get a first date. But nonetheless, I persisted. And, for a while, everything was great. I was on cloud nine. I was so happy. I thought that I had found this guy who was great and who was amazing. And he sort of reciprocated. Looking back from an older and wiser perspective, I was always taking the lead on spending time with him. I would always make it a point that I wanted us to hang out, that I wanted us to spend more time together, that I wanted to be around him. And yes, he always went along with it. He would always say he enjoyed spending time with me, but he never took the lead. It was just if I was going to be there, if I was going to pursue things with him, if I was going to come up with cool places for us to go and cool things for us to do, then he was there for it. And then came the end of that school year. And the end of the school year came And he promised that he would call me over the summer, but he never did. And I spent the summer, because of course I was too proud to actually call him. I spent the summer wondering what the heck was happening. Why is he not talking to me? And I talked to the friend who introduced us, and she was like, well, it's not my place to tell you what's going to happen, but when you find out, you're going to be pissed. So with that, the next school year started, and it turned out that Derek had a girlfriend all along. So when he came to college, I went to college in my home state, but he was from out of state. And when he came to college, he left behind his girlfriend in his home state. But apparently, when she found out about me, I don't know how she found out about me, but she did. And once she did, she actually transferred schools. So the next school year started, and not only was Derek with the girlfriend that he had before he and I were dating, but I actually ended up being neighbors to them as well. We were all in the same dorm, so I had to see the two of them every day. And at one point, I noticed that I hadn't seen her in a while, but I had seen him every single day. And I remember I went up to him. I was like, hey, how's it going? How have things been? And he told me that he was alone and that that it was a mistake for him to break up with me, even though he was cheating. It was a mistake for him to do that, and that he wished that he had stayed with me, and that he was hoping that I would give him another chance. And like an idiot, I did. So I gave him another chance, and all was well for a matter of a week, maybe 10 days or so. And then all of a sudden, I see him and his girlfriend back together again. It turns out that he had lied once again, and that she had taken a leave from classes because she'd had a death in the family. She went back home, spent some time handling that, and then came back. And again, when I look back on this experience, whenever I think of the way that Derek treated me, again, he was more than happy that I was there to be a placeholder for his girlfriend. He was more than happy to let me spend time with him and be vulnerable with him. But that energy and effort that I was putting into the relationship was not being reciprocated. Here's why I'm telling you about this, because that is what that saying means. Never let a man tell you more than once that he doesn't want you. Oftentimes, the harder part in dating and relationships is not this idea of being outright rejected by someone. It's the idea that quiet as is kept. You hear the men with podcasts, the red pill men, talking about women needing men and hitting the wall and things like that. But the truth is, it's men who don't want to be lonely. It is men who have a hard time not being in a romantic relationship, especially because we live in a very patriarchal society that teaches men that they can't be vulnerable, that they can't share their feelings. So oftentimes they don't have anyone they can be vulnerable with and talk about certain things with and really share their feelings with unless they're in a relationship with a woman. Whereas, women tend to have these types of relationships, not only inside our romantic relationships, but we also have, family members and friends that we can open up to and be vulnerable with. The whole idea of like a woman dying alone is never true, because most women, unless the woman was absolutely heinous, most women, when they are on their deathbed, they are on their deathbed surrounded by a spouse, if he is still alive. They're surrounded by their children. They're surrounded by friends, maybe, people at their church, or, co-workers. But women build community and men tend not to, which is why you have men who will have placeholder women in their lives. They will have women who they will be with so that they get the benefits of relationship, whether those benefits are sex. The benefit could just be, she cooks and cleans for him. The benefit could be just someone for him to talk to. But he gets those benefits of being in a relationship, and he will keep it up until he meets the woman that he really wants to be with. And then you will get left. So when we say things like, never let a man tell you more than once that he doesn't want you, it's not a matter, usually at least, of a man outright rejecting you, but a man will show you that you are not truly the woman that he wants because he's inconsistent, because he doesn't put any real effort into the relationship, because he tells you that he doesn't want commitment. Now, he may not say it directly. Like, you ask if he wants to be in a committed relationship and he says, absolutely not, or I don't want to be in a committed relationship with you. I'm just using you until something better comes along. You won't get that conversation, but you will get things like, I'm just trying to chill. Let's just see where it goes. I don't really know how I feel about relationships. Or you will get him changing the subject. You will get him never really making future plans because he doesn't see a future with you. And when those things are happening, it's important that you not break your own heart. At the end of the day, you deserve not just a relationship, not just marriage. You deserve to actually be cherished. You deserve to be loved in all the ways in which you need to be loved. You deserve to know that someone has your back. You deserve to know that someone actually wants to be with you, and not just that they're bored, or not just that they're waiting on someone else. You deserve to know that when you are giving of yourself, because that's how a lot of us are raised as women, right? A lot of us are raised to continually give and give and give of ourselves until we can't give anymore. And yes, we need to stop that. We need to do better. It is important that you learn to manage your energy, manage your boundaries, and manage who has access to you. But even women who are good at that, even if you've done the inner work and you've done all the self-development stuff, women still, when they truly love and care about people, are still very giving people. So if you're going to give that love, then you need to know that you deserve to have someone who is giving it back, who is reciprocating. It is not asking too much to expect a man to be consistent with you in his communication. It is not asking too much to expect a man to show appreciation for you. It's not too much to expect a man to tell you that you're beautiful. You want to be with someone who's actually attracted to you, right? It is not asking too much for a man to show you that you are a priority in his life, judging by how much time he spends with you, judging by the way that he talks about you with his friends, whether or not his friends and family even know that you're dating. It is not a crime to expect to be shown love and affection and consideration and attention. And if you're not getting those things in a relationship, that is, in fact, because these things are the bare minimum, that is, in fact, the man telling you that he doesn't want you. And the first time you see that, you need to leave. Because in the very best case scenario, you will end up in a situation where, because we teach others how to treat us and how to love us, you will end up with a man who has decided to settle for you because you're easy and don't ask for very much. Therefore, you won't ever get very much. And in the worst case scenario, then you will become a placeholder like I was. You will end up in a situation where again, because you don't require much effort, because you are the one who is smitten, because he knows that he's the one who holds all the cards, then he will stay in a relationship with you and get whatever benefits he can get because it's convenient for him. And he will just wait out his time and wait for the person that he really and truly wants to be with. So, in case you're wondering, Derek ended up marrying that woman and they are now divorced. But as it turns out, I was not the only placeholder in the situation. You know, he ended up making her a placeholder wife, a starter wife, and then moving on to someone else. So, you know, some men just have these patterns. Even more reason for you to know that it's not just you, or it's not that there's something wrong with you. There are men who manipulate. There are men who don't care what they do to other people's feelings. And this is not to bash men, because there are plenty of great, caring men out there. There are so many men who are loving, who are responsible, who want to protect, who want to provide. So I don't want you to ever hear a story like this and think, well, see, that's why I'm staying single and that's why I'm never dating. Because, you know, you have to kiss a few frogs to meet a prince, right? We all have these bad experiences, but what I hope you will take from this is using a little bit more discernment. What I hope you will gain from this is understanding that if you're going to be in a relationship, reciprocity is essential. You cannot be in a relationship by yourself. You cannot be in a relationship where you're doing all the work, hoping that someone else is going to eventually come along, hoping that this other person is going to eventually see how hard you're working and decide to actually put in some effort and take the burden of carrying the relationship off of you. If you are committed to truly living a happy and fulfilled life, and for you that happy and fulfilled life includes a fulfilling relationship, the first time someone shows you that they are not in a position to give you the things that you need, either because they can't or because they won't, that is your cue to keep it pushing. That is your cue to understand that there is something so much better for you out there than a person who just pays lip service and gives you the bare minimum. So let me know. Before this episode, had you ever heard the phrase, never let a man tell you more than once that he doesn't want you? And let me know what you think that means to you. We can always continue the conversation, as always, on social media. I'm at Keisha Rice on Instagram, on TikTok, and on YouTube as well. So be sure to follow me, comment on my latest post, and let me know what you think. I will talk to you soon. Love you so much. Bye.
Hey there. So you made it all the way to the end of the episode, which means I have two things to say. One, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. And two, you like me. You really like me. So I would appreciate it if you would show that like by subscribing to this podcast so that more people can hear about it and enjoy it as much as you do. And if you want to know more about any of the links that I mentioned on this episode or any guests that I've had, be sure to go to KeishaRice.com/links. That's KeishaRice.com/links. I can't wait to talk to you again in the next episode. So see you then.